Namaste everyone, Jai Hind. Welcome to MMK The Eagle View. Today we are going to see a very important topic about China's war capabilities. When we speak about war, the first thing which comes into our mind is a fighter plane, soldiers, tanks, artillery, guns, weapons, bloodshed, and then each one of the countries bombing each other, the tanks moving in. So that's how we perceive something called war. But what actually is happening is the war, the dimensions of war has changed drastically. In 2020, we had a pandemic created by a virus which originated from Wuhan, China. Till date, there are theories that this was man-made, it leaked from a lab, it came from a wet market. But end of the day, it ended up killing millions of people. A lot of people lost their livelihood. Many countries went bankrupt. It completely took the world off for 2 years. And everybody has suffered directly or indirectly because of this one particular strain of virus. Do we have answers for who created it? Who is accountable? Is it natural? If it's natural, we know why it was not able to be prevented. There were virus attacks earlier. Nature always has its own ways of acting on us. We had Nipah virus, we had a lot of Ebola virus, a lot of other viruses, but it was all restricted and constrained. Why such measures were not taken is that still there is a theory that it's a form of an biological warfare. Chemical, nuclear and biological warfares are prohibited by most of the countries, but we do know nations do a lot of studies on this biological warfare especially. Then we see the information warfare. A classic example was Russia and Ukraine, where in the first 1 week it was all about Russia, and then later it was completely a narrative was said. There's a plethora of messages, posts and videos and reels showing real battlefield images that Russia is losing the war. Eventually we know what is happening in Russia and Ukraine as on today. Similar thing happened between the Hamas and Israel conflict. There were photos, artificial generated images which were circulated that children were getting killed. Obviously there was a lot of collateral damage, including an hospital. We saw all those stories, but there are a lot of pro-Israel, anti-Israel, pro-Hamas and anti-Hamas propaganda which was done effectively in all platforms of the social media. Similarly, we saw Mumbai's power grid going down for almost 18 hours plus. Later, Chinese hackers claimed that we did it. Similarly, we have seen attack on AIIMS OPD system, registration system. The hospital system was shut down for almost 2 to 3 days. We saw such attacks which comes into the cyber warfare domain. Now, one thing which China is progressing in terms through a leaked paper through OSINT, I will share the link of the detailed article in the description. But I want to clearly give a disclaimer that if such an serious and a very sensitive document is coming in public, it maybe would have been done by China deliberately as well. We will see in the end of the video. So let's understand what is this new form of warfare. It is called cognitive warfare, battle of cognition. So something to do with the human nervous system and human brain. So they have classified that into 5 battles of cognition. The first one is battle of preemptive cognition. So the way it has been defined is involves shaping the cognitive environment before the war begins by strategically influencing the psychological and value-based cognitive factors of target objects. The goal is to dominate the cognitive space efficiently and establish the moral high ground. It's very clear. You want to set a narrative. Before you want to go engage in war with any nation, you basically want to demoralize their forces, demoralize their population. Every country has a very strong belief system on its armed forces. Like India, the citizens of India have a very, very strong belief system on their armed forces. It is one of the most respected profession in the country. Armed forces still for successive years has been demonstratedly, it has been seen as the most trusted profession or an organization in the country. Even the judiciary and everything comes later. So if you break the trust of the people that your army is weak, they are not fit enough or they are not capable war fighting nation, then the half the battle has already been won. And if you do the same thing to your soldiers, to the enemy soldiers, that you guys are good for nothing, we have much superior things, you will be killed in the battlefield like guinea pigs. Such a narrative will demoralize a soldier. It will also affect its will to fight. That is what is meant as battle of preemptive cognition. Before you get in, you kind of saturate and demoralize your enemy. Second comes the battle of cognitive precision. Now, the earlier one is a generic one by way of memes, by way of social media posts, Instagram, TikTok videos, fake videos, AI generated, outdated videos, irrelevant videos. So we have a new profession called fact checking, right? How many can you fact check really? So these are the ones which is very, very generic in nature, specific to a country or a race or a religion. The second one is cognitive precision. It is specifically meant to attack the enemy nation's government, its government functionaries in defense, foreign affairs, finance, their army, the navy, air force, the top echelons, until also to the bottom level to their soldiers. It is specific to them. Third one is battle of cognitive domination. It says that it aims to penetrate the entire cognitive territory, including both physical hard destruction methods and soft kill effects achieved through cognitive shaping, induction, intervention and control. The objective is to create a powerful deterrent and asymmetric advantage. Domination clearly means that you literally dominate the enemy. Now here they mention it as physical destruction, which means use of microwaves, use of high-end stroke low-end acoustics, use of radiation, use of magnetic waves, use of thermal waves, such things to physically affect the human beings, your enemy's neurosystem and brain. So this is what comes under domination. Then comes the battle of cognitive information. As I recognize the importance of strong information support in future wars, it involves building cognitive offensive and defensive operation resources, integrating media communication and developing core technologies for cognitive information fusion. This is purely on the information front. What you do in the war field, you would have shot one enemy warplane, but you end up claiming 5 or 10 and then you manipulate and you make the enemy also believe that, the population believe that you lost so much. And you also insulate your own population from any of the losses you make in the battlefield. The classical example is Galwan clash. The very next day, the Indian army came out with this list of casualties, 20 of our fallen soldiers, who are they, their photographs and everything. But if you look at China, they didn't agree for even a single casualty. They are kept mum. Their citizens were not informed. To the best of the intelligence report we received, open source, most of the soldiers were cremated in the valleys of Galwan. But after a year, they came out with we had 4 soldiers who laid life for country, who fought Indians, and including a commanding officer. And there was one injured guy who was introduced in their CCP's plenary celebration, where he was cheered up as a hero. Now you are able to insulate your casualties. As per a Russian estimate, it was around 100. As per a US intelligence estimate, it was around 40 to 60. We really don't know what numbers are, but our army definitely knows. They have hidden this fact from their population, from their fellow soldiers as well, for quite some time, or almost 2 years, and then they came up with some minimalized number to acknowledge losses, because a lie beyond a point doesn't hold any value. So this is cognitive information. Then comes the cognitive coordination. So this is to integrate your human intelligence, your electronic intelligence, your satellite intelligence, your counter espionage, everything integrated, put together, you coordinate and manage the battlefield. So these are the 5 battlefields which they talk about, and in this they have precision strike weapons specific to a human being. It may be a microwave, it may be a low-end acoustics, it may be a laser, it may be an infrared, it may be anything. What it does is it specifically attacks the human's neurosystem and also the brain. This is what they call it as precision strike weapon, or in another term they call it as a neuro strike weapon. I will give you two examples for this. One, when US diplomats and from Ministry of Defense, couple of their officials went to China for a conference. Some meeting or a conference which was happening. All of them are staying in the same hotel. The conference were also happening in the same hotel. Suddenly, one of their diplomat fell sick. He complains of nausea, vomiting and severe headache, and he collapses. He never had an history of anything. There was no possible jet lag. These people at higher ups, they generally don't get into normal traveling troubles like food poisoning, such and stuff. A very extremely fit individual. Later they realized it may be because of some microwave kind of a stuff. So immediately the Americans vacated that hotel. They pulled out from China. Such an incident happened in Cuba as well, where an American diplomat and a senior defense official complained of same set of complaints: nausea, vomiting, disorientation, and then severe headache. So they also had some neurological disorder. So this is precisely done through systems like microwave. Then we have AI. Artificial intelligence is effectively used in studying the behavioral patterns of the enemy soldiers, their leaders. We have an army commander who runs operations, who commands a very big military unit, say for example in Eastern Command. If your AI is able to model and analyze how that particular army commander will think, what will be his thought process. If I do this military maneuver, what will be his response? If I do this response, what will be his response? So such kind of studies are made by PLA, and that is how they effectively using AI for it. And it is also done for counter espionage. It is also done to, like, they will publish an article about a Chinese general who, for example, is their Western Theatre commander. Such and such stories will be published online. When our people picks up this information through OSINT or through other sources of intelligence, it will give a completely different picture about that particular Chinese general. You actually put a mask and show something else about his personality and decision making, ways and means of his decision making. Now let's see what are the weapons they use. They use something called sleep weapons. Sleep weapons are effectively, we really don't know the technical details, but the objective of is to put the enemies to sleep, to disorient him, to make him sleep. If an enemy soldier sleeps in the battlefield, it can be through ingested medicines like paracetamol, genetic drugs. It can be anything. It may be through radiation, it may be through microwave or anything. Vice versa, they also have sleepless drugs, where a soldier in combat would generally sleep around 2 to 4 hours. Whenever he gets a time, so he takes a quick nap and then gets back. Every human being insanely requires sleep. You can't keep fighting for 72 hours and beyond. So in such conditions, you require sleep. So here you disturb the sleep of the enemy. You make them sleep. And in counter way, you don't let your soldiers sleep. So these are both ways. We'll come to it. Now, brain controlled interface. The brain controlled interface is we all think that we have complete control on our smartphones. Every smartphone has hundreds and hundreds of apps, but we assume that I buy this mobile, I pay for it, I download the app, I have full control over it. It's actually not a story. It's an addiction. People are attracted to certain apps. If you are a youngster, you are more to do with say for example Instagram or TikTok. If you are into mid 30s plus, then you're more oriented in the family stuff. You use Facebook more often, and also social things like your political opinions and social opinions. Those who are in politics or political observers, or who would want rapid information to flow, they generally go to Twitter. Those who want purely entertainment, they go to some other media like TikTok. So all this is algorithms are basically, most of the Chinese apps, what they do is, the phone actually clutches your brain, and in TikTok you don't stop with one reel. You go to the second, you go to the third, you go on and on and on and on, unless or until there is some external disturbance or commitment which compels you to move out. Your mother says go and buy something and come back. So this is what is brain computer interface, where you completely lock your enemy's brain with such apps. Then we have brain controlled weapons. It says weapon controlled by the user's brain signals, enabling precise targeting and manipulation of cognitive functions in the target. This is classical. I have seen this, read this, but I thought it was a conspiracy theory. Seems it's going to be real in anywhere in future. Two people are sitting in a meeting room. Now I have some sensor, with me, and I think certain way. The moment I think certainly, my enemy, I want to, kind of pin down in the negotiation table. Then I use an indirect weapon, a brain controlled weapon, which emits some radiation, which can disturb his thinking process. Fourth is generic drugs. We all know, we all take paracetamols, we all take Dolo 650. So this guys, whatever gets produced in China, they do add other drugs to it. That's a way of orbit. That doesn't mean that I am saying that China is importing, exporting medicines which is contaminated or adulterated. No, that's not the case. They have the capability to do this. They see this as a way of waging a war. There is a clear understanding which we need to have here. Use this genetic drugs, mix it with something else, some other chemical, some other drugs, and put a disturb his sleep or put him into sleep, vice versa, whichever way. And then we have something called sleep glasses. Now this has been tried on their own soldiers, where you are expected to wear a wearable glass. We have this Facebook and wearable smart Google glasses and stuff. So the moment you wear it, it doesn't permit a soldier to sleep. It doesn't let him sleep. So you can keep the soldier active for as high as 48 hours to 78 hours without a single minute of sleep. If you make this soldier wear this particular glass. Then we have nightless drugs. There are a lot of drugs which can literally keep you awake for the whole night, 1 night, 2 nights, or even 3 nights. So such drugs are fed to the soldiers. And then we have soft kill radio waves, microwaves, electromagnetic radiation. All of these have effect on human body, we all know, and it has a very, very solid effect on humans' neurosystem and brain. So that is why if you buy a mobile, it has got something called SAR radiation, which the government of India has put that the radiation level has to be less than this. If it goes beyond, you can't use that mobile. So every mobile manufacturing company which sells mobiles here has to limit their radiation within that. Even then, that radiation kind of affects us. Literally it affects us. There are a lot of narrative and counter narrative to it. The science always believes that we need a sample size, it has to be tested and proven. But there are other ways of finding out things and other way of analyzing things as well. So this is by using radio waves. Then comes the genetically modified soldiers. It sounds so Hollywood, but it's a reality. They have identified certain ethnicity of Chinese who seem to have a much better lung capacity, much higher bone density, much robust body build, much less prone to disease. So they identify them. These soldiers' genetics are derived. They modify it as per their needs. Like for example, if they have to fight in Galwan, the mainland Chinese cannot do it because they are not meant or suitable to take that much of cold and fight in such high altitude. That is why they go on a hiring spree among Tibetans. They hire a lot of Tibetan soldiers, made them a paramilitary force, and they're trying something out here. So now if you genetically modify a soldier who can kind of take that amount of cold and at such a high peak and a high altitude, that serves them their purpose. Then you have brain controlled weapons. These are very new. There are very less literature about it, but they are researching on this. So now there are two divisions, organizations within PLA who has been effectively doing this. Now imagine what is the new way of war. So they always refer to their very famous Art of War by Sun Tzu, which says that fight a war without actually fighting. You have to win a war without fighting. That's real smartness. So that is what they have been trying to do. And anything which comes from Chinese, for example, if an Indian diplomat or Indian diplomacy team, external affairs, security, even our own prime ministers go and do a physical negotiation, we need to be mindful of these kind of warfare which they have documented. It is and another way of looking at it is you deliberately leak such a document where you really don't have that capability, but by leaking it, like way we are speaking, and this video will be watched by a couple of thousands of people. Now you kind of make a propaganda that we have such and such capabilities, but this document cannot be neglected completely. Lot of this have implications, has been done in the past. It's not that it's not been done, it's been done in the past. So we also need to relook the way we look at war as a common man, and our security establishment also has to have a robust system in terms of preventing us from this, and also such warfare has been launched on us. We also need to have a counter measure to it, a counter warfare for it. So that is how we are going to see this. So Chinese, especially the Chinese premier Xi Jinping, the emperor, he is on a self-destructive mode. He wants to destroy the world. He wants to win, colonize the countries without fighting it. But we, as a land of Dharma, have our own ways of fighting war. We will fight this as well. Thank you all. Jai Hind.